Oh, look, it's a power creep problem conversation again. Dear diamonds and fellow diamonds in the rough, power creep is and always will be a topic when it comes to any live service game, to be honest with you. Like outside of gacha, like you're not limited to just gacha, any live service type of game will typically have power creep. It's inevitable, like Thanos.
I am inevitable.
The reason why I'm making this video is because I've noticed there was a lot of talk about power creep recently, and there was a lot of spreadsheeting being thrown around for the conversation to make points, or at least from what I've gathered, because it is quite lengthy. And to be honest with you, the more spreadsheeting occurs in a conversation, the more I tune out from that, because I'll be totally real. Believe it or not, I used to be a pretty serious player when it comes to the gachas I used to play. Like I would look up numbers, I would look up performance, power. Like I would really do a lot of research when it comes to the new units, look at dreams, and really calculate what's going to be the best for me, and if this thing is going to truly impact the meta more so than do I like the character or not. And I used to be pretty amazing at the games like Genshin and SSR. I used to be pretty amazing at them, but those days are behind us. I hung up my jersey and moved on to better things. And the reason why I'm referencing my past with these gacha games is just to establish the type of player I am today, where I will prioritize fun more so than anything else. As long as I enjoy things, you'll see me there. However, what I always try to push with my content is not only for you to always have fun, which you might have noticed if you've been a long-time follower of the channel, but more importantly, is for you to always be mindful of the predatory practices these games do. It's okay to have fun, just make sure you are mindful of the problems that may occur if you're not careful. The best analogy I can give is make sure you wear a condom, all right? Just wear a condom, man. Yes, it will not be as pleasurable, but god damn it, it could change your life.
Am I lying?
Now let's get into the meat of the topic. Is there power creep? The answer is a blatant yes. Some may cope and say, oh, there's only animation power creep or gooning power creep. And no, there's also a performance power creep, where clearly a character does better than the previous character. That's power creep. That is the most common definition of power creep, right? Now, is it normal that we have power creep? The answer is yes. Live service games equals power creep. Complaining about power creep, about its existence as a concept, in a video game, a live service video game to be specific, is the same as complaining about you getting hit on by a gay dude at a gay bar. What the fuck are you doing in the gay bar? The gay dude is at no fault here. You're at fault.
And that's a fact.
Now, one thing we should not forget is power creep exists due to us, the players, and us making it somewhat of a necessity for us to keep purchasing the new shiny toys.
Let me explain.
For a player to really want to be incentivized to pick up the new shiny toy the company is introducing, it typically has to respect two base criterias for the player to feel like it's worth its buck. The number one thing is, of course, lore, design, goon, whatever form it may take of appeal when it comes to the character or the weapon, really, of how it affects the player emotionally. We are emotional creatures. The more emotionally triggered by something, the more likely we want that thing to be in our lives. That's how we operate. That's why good marketing is always pulling on your emotional strings. It's on purpose. And the second one is most important, is definitely power. You need some level of power in terms of performance, numbers, whatever the form it may take, for the character to feel like it was, yeah, the game is evolving. It feels like the game is becoming better. It's growing. It's something different now. And more importantly, you clear content easier and better, because that's the nature of live service game that was established years ago. Unfortunately, we are dealing with an already established strategy that you can't really fault Kuro Games and Withering Waves for following, because that's the norm of the playing field they're in. And for us players within the Kuro sphere, it's up to us to understand exactly where's what. This is like you knowing what country you're in, but then you gotta understand that you are on planet Earth. We are in a spot, and that spot is also in another spot. And we have to be mindful of where that spot is, all right? So as long as we're mindful that we're part of the problem our damn selves, / they have to operate this particular way, it makes power creep a norm and something to not necessarily want to fight for. It is the norm of the thing you're in, all right? You can't truly get mad at power creep as the concept. All right. I hope we've fully established that. And now that we have, the real question becomes, is power creep and how it's applied problematic? Because this is where we have wiggle room. Concept is inevitable. It's a default we have to respect. Now, how they go about applying said power creep is where there's some certain wiggle room, and the pacing more specifically. I really want to highlight the pacing part. Now, the pacing can just jump up out of nowhere, which is exactly what we're seeing here with Augusta. I feel like there was always some level of power creep in Withering Waves. There always was. Yes, you can still clear with previous characters, but the fact is these new characters are clearly better in terms of performances, animations, stuff like that, where you do feel like Jian, for example, one of my favorites, feels sluggish in terms of performance. It feels one-dimensional when you have stuff like Zani, when there's so much to take into consideration, and you are rewarded for taking those things into consideration, and plus you are rewarded with more power in terms of performance compared to something like Jian. So I think it's safe to say, factually speaking, that with the proper comps, the new units are clearly outshining the previous units. Yes, you can still clear, but obviously the time is different, hence power creep.
That's a fact.
Now, what's interesting to me is the timing in which this occurred. Now, the timing is interesting because it reminds me of Hoyo games. And of course, the strategy is the same as Hoyo, by the way. Look at the pricings, look at how they do things in the anniversaries. Remember the anniversary? Remember what happened in the first anniversary for Wuthering Waves? We had backlash, we had to let them know, and it still wasn't technically enough because the baseline Kuro has introduced in 1.0 and how we came to know them is clearly different than the Kuro we have now. And that is not a coincidence. This is on purpose. It's happening exactly how it's supposed to happen, because people tend to forget Kuro is ultimately a company that answers to investors and answers to higher powers. Like the game developers answer to higher powers that are in the business to make money. Like they have to maximize revenue. So what are they going to do? They're going to copy what obviously works in the market they're in, which is the Hoyo formula. All right, it makes the most sense. Like, why do something different when you can clearly see something that's already a baseline and works and can maximize your profit? Slash, most dangerously, is now that they've established the fan base, because whether you like it or not, Wuthering Waves is now an established title. They no longer have to give you like a free Changlia or free polls because they messed up some stuff in the game, a bug or something. They don't have to do that anymore. They were trying to win your heart. They won your heart, and now they're showing your true colors. That's why I always make the analogy of that these gacha games are prostitutes, because prostitution is the only thing I know of that does the exact same shit these gacha games do. All right? They claim everlasting love for you, but the reality is, this is what they're after. They're after your wallet. They're after your stuff. All right? It is what it is. It is what it is. So as long as you understand that and you are mindful of that, it becomes fairly easy to navigate your disdain towards the practices they do. Because I will admit, we are used to this, and I'm not saying it's not a problem, because it clearly is a freaking problem. But the reality is, it's a bigger problem than just in Kuro. Kuro could be the odd one out. They could make a new formula, something different, something new, kind of like Do It Not Abyss. It was like, you know what, screw this. We're just gonna believe in our products. We're just gonna sell skins, and that's it. Like, we're just gonna, all right, we're just gonna ride it. That's it. Let's give it a best shot. No, Kuro is clearly not doing that. Kuro is clearly after the already established fan base that Genshin Impact had made. Obviously, it's a copy-paste, somewhat improved the product, like copy my homework but change it for better, is basically Wuthering Waves to Genshin Impact. And now that they have the established fan base, they are gonna do the same predatory shit that Hoyo does, because it works. It's obviously maximizing profit for Hoyo. Guess what a company is gonna do? Exactly, they're gonna do the same thing Hoyo does, which is maximizing profit. Now, where they differ, however, is Hoyo is very keen in minimizing cost. This is why Hoyo doesn't do much. However, Wuwa, I would say they're not focusing on that. They're trying to maximize profit, which is why I feel like they pour a lot of effort in the characters. Like, you can see there's a lot of details in the characters. Like, compared to the rest of the gachas, I feel like bar none, like Kuro really cooks in terms of design and everything. Power creep is a thing. and factually present in Withering Waves. Cannot deny that. Is it problematic now? Well, in terms of pacing, for me, like the casual player that I am, for me, it's not much of a problem. I will admit, if you are a collector like myself, and you keep picking up the new units as you go on with the game, which is the main intent of the game, because they want you to keep collecting these bitches, as long as you do that, especially strategically smart, where you look up characters, you see guides, you see what advanced players are saying about X or Y unit, and you know what to pick up, you will not encounter the power creep problem, because by design, the game wants you to pick up the new stuff for collecting them, and also you are incentivized to do so more due to power, and that power can enable you to clear post-game content, which again, you don't necessarily have to do, but because you pour in so much time and effort in the game, you do want to have the ability to clear it. All right, that's just the player satisfaction, which is completely normal. Fuck you mean I spent hours in this game and I got all this gear and I can't clear content? Like, are you crazy? No, you gotta do it smart in gacha, and the way they do it is for you to pick up the new shiny thing. Now, always keep in mind, companies minimize cost if they can, maximize profit when they can. And to be honest, I understand why this is all of a sudden a topic of conversation, because Augusta was the spike in power creep. Because if power creep starts off like this, right, and it starts going slowly like this, like it reaches a certain point where Augusta, for example, in this particular instance, is going to do like this, like a quick spike up, and it keeps going up and keeps going up steadily, slowly, but surely. And I feel like as long as we're knowledgeable of this, / we communicate to the company to ease off on the pacing so that we don't have crazy pacing like the one for SSR where power creep is, that's it, like it's out of control. Like it's completely out of control. You have to keep up with the new units and their premium supports, or else you're done for. You can no longer look at end game content as something to easily clear. It truly throws the baby with the bathwater. It ruins the experience as a whole for a lot of players, and it makes the product somewhat of a not for me. A suggestion I will leave in case this reaches a dev or by some miracle is always try to make sure new units that spike up the power creep synergize with previous units that are already existing, kind of like Augusta and Mortefi. I feel like because of the way they do it with Mortefi is why, for me, Augusta isn't really that huge problematic power creep. Though, we have to acknowledge that it is power creep. It's there, most definitely. Oh, that was a spike, absolutely. But the way they went about it is sneaky because it synergizes with a free unit, right? Like, well, not free, but easy to obtain unit.
Somewhat.
And so, as long as we're mindful, I know I keep emphasizing the mindful, but I think it's what truly enabled me to best navigate emotionally these video games, these gacha games, and to remain involved with them and not lose my shit in the process is through this mindset, which is why I'm encouraging it so much. So, in conclusion, power creep is a thing. It's the default of the very thing you're in, all right? You're playing a gacha game, you're playing a live service game, it's gonna be there, all right? Established. The pacing, as it is right now, is decent, considering Mortefi, Augusta, all that. Though, we gotta acknowledge that power creep is a thing. You cannot be blind to it. I think that's the conversation the creators were having. It's very important to establish that, yes, there is power creep. You cannot be blind to it. You are way too naive and too narrow-sighted for you to claim that there is absolutely no power creep, but it's just animations. No. There is in power as well, okay? Establish that. Though the pacing so far seems to be okay. It's decent. Like, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. And it makes sense due to the very nature of the thing that's pushing the product to you. They're corporations, they have to maximize profit. They're gonna emulate the things that obviously work, which is the Hoyo formula. They're gonna do the same thing as Hoyo, okay? How do we go from here, from us, the players? Well, always talk about the issues and the concerns you have and voice them to the company. So that way we make sure that the pacing is at a pace where we can keep up, where it's okay. It's nothing crazy like SSR, where you need the new premium DPS with its 2 premium supports. It's crazy. It's not fine. It's too much, it's too fast, it's a constant sprint, and where most free-to-play and low spenders and casual players like myself are just outpaced by. And so we're just gonna drop it for a minute. You can still come back once you gather enough resources and have the ability to pick up something and play with them as long as you can. But the reality is you will not be able to keep up fully with the game in every single patch. It's just unrealistic when it comes to a free-to-play / low spender. But if WUA, so far as a low spender myself, can keep this up, I feel like we're not really gonna have an issue as much as we do with Hoyo titles, and more importantly, it's 3 units per team. It helps a lot. Like, you gotta remember that it's 3, not 4, contrary to the Hoyo games. It's that plays a massive part. I haven't heard someone talk about that. I do want to reference that it's only 3 units. In the end, it's gonna be like Kuro will have to try very hard to power creep the game to oblivion. And I feel like as long as we voice and we stay the hand of Kuro from truly going down the rabbit hole of, for example, SSR power creep, I think the game would remain in a good spot. Those are my thoughts. I've kind of rambled on in the end. I apologize for that, but yeah, what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And all due respect to every creator who threw their hat in the ring when it comes to this, but I do feel like we kind of forgot exactly what we're dealing with and the nature of the very thing we're in. And I understand we can have an issue with the monetary practices within video games, but unfortunately, as long as it doesn't make sense, but it makes dollars. All right, and as long as it makes dollars, they're gonna keep doing that. It's the same as it's like sex work. Despite the negative social view people are gonna have of the people that do that, they still do it because they chase the big bucks. And it's the same thing here. Yes, there are video games that are supposed to be fun first, monetary later. No, they don't care. They're here for the money, clearly. And even though they know we're going to view them in a bad light due to those practices, they still go ahead and do those anyway because there's a market to that. They're making millions of dollars off of that. It is what it is. It's a money world, and apparently their money, well, you know. Like, comment, subscribe. Be seeing you.